What's up everyone? Thank you for stopping by. I just got back from my first run with the brand new Hoka Kawana that drops January 15th, so only a few days from now. And I'm gonna give you my first impressions of my first run. But first, let's go for the run. All right, well, thanks for sticking around. And I do have to say thank you so much to Hoka for sending this out to me early, but however, this is not a sponsored video in any way. So first, let's go over a few stats of the Hoka Kawana. So this is a brand new shoe from Hoka that is in their 2022 road lineup. And it's kind of billed as this shoe for everyone and kind of like a good entry-level running shoe for people that are getting interested in running. The heel, we've got a 30 millimeter stack height, and the forefoot, we've got 25 millimeters. So there's a 5 millimeter drop, very typical for Hoka. The weight of the shoe was 12.2 ounces when I weighed it in my size 11.5, and that comes out to 348.1 grams. So this is definitely not a light shoe, and the way that Hoka has billed it as this kind of like shoe for everyone to get into running, they also describe the foam as a new, lively, lightweight foam. I was expecting a pretty soft, plush ride, but that's not at all what I got. What I got was very different. We'll explain that when I talk about the midsole. My stats for this first run in the Hoka Kawana was 8 miles today with an average pace of 8:15. So there's a few new things that Hoka has put into this shoe that are a little bit different than some of their others. The first is just a different crash pad, which is basically just kind of like this outsole here in the heel. And then there is this, what they're calling a swallow tail. And this is meant for heel strikers. This is meant to kind of soften that impact right away as you're striking the ground with your heel. I'm not specifically a heel striker, so maybe that's why this shoe didn't really work out for me. Moving along, the upper is a vegan upper. It's a engineered jacquard mesh upper, so we've seen this in a lot of their other shoes. The tongue is very plush. It's semi-gusseted, so there's just a little tiny bit on each side that connects down to the midsole. There's also some padding back here around the heel collar, and there is this anatomical swoop for the Achilles. And overall, I really liked the upper quite a bit. The only problem I did have was a little bit of heel slip, mainly towards the end of my run, after about 5 or 6 miles. I started to feel it just slipping just a little bit in both feet. However, I did not do the heel lock lacing system, and I decided not to stop during the middle of my run to relace my shoes. I just kept going because it wasn't a huge issue, but just so you know. Moving on to the midsole, we have a new CMEVA foam, and I have to say right off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of this. The way it was implemented in this shoe, it felt very firm, and maybe that's what they were going for. Like, I kind of have to imagine that's what they're going for since that's what made it to production. Personally, I would have rather them went with the EVA foam that they use in the Clifton. My first thoughts of like, this is a shoe meant for people getting into running. We've got the bigger heel, we've got the swallow tail, the crash pad, all of that. It just pointed to a shoe that was going to be a lot more comfortable, and unfortunately this CMEVA was just not comfortable for me. I just really was having a hard time getting into it. It didn't open up at all, and I tried this at all different paces. I tried this slower, around like 8:45 per mile for me, which is pretty easy, and I tried it faster, 7:30s, 7:40s, which is a little bit more of my tempo pace. I didn't go any faster than that because it just never opened up, and typically shoes will open up for me around that speed if they're going to. It was a very firm midsole. They say that it's well balanced, and I would agree with that because it was firm in the heel and the forefoot. So along with Hoka's new CMEVA midsole, they also have a early stage meta rocker design going on with this sole. So what that's going to do is give you just a little bit of forward rock when you're going through your footstep, and I did think that was okay. Like, I did feel that it felt pretty normal there. However, my biggest problem is just with this foam. It did not feel like it was giving me anything back. I felt like everything I was putting into to it was kind of just being like kind of stalemated, and maybe I can help some people out there, is that I'm afraid that running stores are going to be pushing this shoe to new runners based off of Hoka's marketing material, and I just don't really think that it's going to work out that well. I think that Hoka's Clifton or their Bondi, or even like a Nike Pegasus, or there's plenty of other brands out there that have models that are going to be better for a new runner. Honestly, for me, it felt the best when I was just kind of walking around the house. And maybe I'll use this as a casual shoe, because I actually do have to say a lot of really good things about the looks. I think the looks are awesome. This kind of like gradient from orange back to green is just, it's a really cool, good looking shoe, like nice white on top. And then the outsole is kind of this really cool like Hawaiian theme. In fact, that's kind of what they're going for with this shoe. Speaking of the outsole, we have a lot of durabrasion rubber throughout the whole thing. Basically everything that you see in blue is this pretty solid rubber. Everything in green is the CM EVA foam. And I did feel like this was it had good ground contact. In fact, towards the end of my run today, the rain started to turn into freezing rain and the ground started to turn to ice in like the last half mile. And I actually did feel pretty confident with this outsole. So that's a good thing. And honestly, maybe this shoe, like maybe people are going to try it for trail running. I don't know, because the outsole does seem to be pretty durable. And maybe this more firm midsole, it's really stable, like it's just not going anywhere. Maybe it will work better on trails where the surface is a little bit softer. So who knows, maybe we'll be seeing this at some trail races coming up. So that's kind of where I am after my first run with the Hoka Kawana. I am afraid that this is probably going to be also maybe my last run in the shoe, just because there are so many other good shoes out there that I want to put miles into, that make me want to run, that feel comfortable. The end of this run, the last couple miles, my calves started hurting, and then by the end of the run, my whole body was just worn out, and I just felt like I only ran 8 miles. Like this definitely I shouldn't be feeling like this at 8 miles. Unfortunately, I think it's this midsole. I just think it's just a little bit off. It just misses the mark. So that's my take. I really honestly don't love saying negative things about any shoe, because I know how many people put tons and tons of hours into designing something like this, and the manufacturing process. Like there's a huge team that went into this shoe. Unfortunately though, like the end result just didn't work for me, and I don't think it's gonna work for a ton of people. And so maybe by making this video, I can save you guys out there a few pennies. If you're looking for a Hoka daily trainer, I would steer you more towards the Clifton and the Bondi, and I'll have links to those down below. So check those out. 2022, there are some really good shoes coming out from Hoka, like the Hoka Supersonic and the Tecton X. I also have the Carbon X3 that I haven't tried out yet, but unfortunately I'm probably going to retire the Kawana after one run, or maybe it's going to be a casual shoe, because I actually do think that the looks are pretty awesome. But that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you like this type of video, definitely hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. Bye.